just messing around in Diamond City right now. But I just wanted to talk about how I started playing Magic the Gathering and how I think new players can start learning how to play the game and its core fundamentals early on, and what is the best way to do that without spending, hundreds of dollars, all of your savings. What's the best way to do this without going overboard? You don't know, whoever you're trying to teach may not like the game. They may not feel like it's worth spending, more than $20 or $30 to get into, and that's perfectly understandable. From my standpoint, I started playing standard, and this was around the time of the Theros block. I didn't really know. I didn't know that Commander was a thing back then. I didn't know anything about Magic. So when I started playing, I was like, okay, what is the entry level format? And so many people that I knew, they were playing standard. So I just started playing standard, thinking that okay, this is fun. This is going to be something I can play for a while. And then unfortunately, a lot of the decks that I made, a lot of my cards rotated out of standard, but a lot of the cards I was playing with at the time were from like Return to Ravnica. I think I was playing the mono black mid range deck at the time, and with cards like Desecration Demon and Pack Rat, a lot of those cards rotated out of standard. Uh, I think this was around like the Khans of Tarkir block when that happened, and so I was out of a deck. I had to try to rebuild, and it turned out to be just a terrible experience for me starting out. So I didn't feel that confident playing the game if I knew I had to spend more and more money to get back into standard. So then I found out about Commander, and it's been the format I've been playing ever since. Like I've I can hold on to a deck, I can hold on to cards, and they're never going to rotate. I can play cards from all the way back from Alpha, all the way up to Amonkhet, the newest set, and I can hold on to these decks for many years. And of course, yeah, there could be a card that might get banned, maybe two, but who cares? It's a singleton format. You can just find and easily replace any card that happens to get banned. I think the last two cards that have been banned have been within the last 2 years. So it's not something that happens frequently, and not enough to really be concerned about whether or not your deck's gonna hold up. I think, yeah, the last two cards that got banned were Leovold, Emissary of Trust, and Prophet of Kruphix, which compared to a lot of things that get banned in the other formats, Legacy, Modern, these two made perfect sense why they got banned. Prophet of Kruphix, during its time, absolutely devastating for any control deck playing Simic colors. You knew they were playing Prophet of Kruphix. Heck, any deck, 5 colors, they all played Prophet of Kruphix. And as soon as you got her out, you pretty much won the game because you can untap all your lands, you can respond. If you have counter spells, instant speed removal, anything, it made it so that your opponents don't feel safe knowing that you have all that mana to work with on their turns. And Animar especially was one of the most oppressive commanders with Prophet of Kruphix. Basically, every single one of your opponent's turns, you're doing something during their turn, making their turn kind of irrelevant. And it got to the point where it was extremely annoying and frustrating to have to deal with that. Like those type of creature decks where every turn you're flashing creatures into play. You have effects that allow you to draw cards off of creatures entering the battlefield. So Prophet of Kruphix definitely needed to go. The most recent banning, which happened, I believe, last month, Leovold got banned, and that was 100% understandable. I mean, the guy is pure cancer in the format. So many decks depend on consistency and card draw. Leovold just denied that entirely. Not even just the excessive card draw, but just the fact that you can lock your opponents out of having anything in their hand, keep them from playing their deck, and it's just miserable. And there's some decks that have some aspect of resource denial. which is, I mean, it's frustrating, but at least you can deal with it. Leovold keeping you from drawing cards with Teferi's Puzzle Box, that was not a fun time. And those decks, like those Leovold decks, just shouldn't have existed in the first place. But that's just what happens when Wizards when they decide to make a busted card. He sees ton of Plan Legacy right now in Sultai Control decks, but other than that, he's not really anywhere else. And that's a good thing because the guy is fucking cancer. But I remember I was so tempted to make a Leovold deck, but then I realized how many people would hate me for doing that. I'm a competitive commander player, and if I were to make a Leovold deck, I can't go, no half measures. I have to go all the way and just oppress everyone to guarantee my victory. And that's not how it should be in Commander. You should at least allow your opponents to play their decks the way they want to, for the most part. Like, I can understand if you're playing blue and you want to counterspell stuff every now and then, that's understandable. However, keeping someone from doing anything at all, that is terrible, and good riddance, Leovold, just cancer for the format. Anyone else who had a complaint about him being banned, it was usually because they no longer just ban commanders as commanders. Like, for instance, Leovold can no longer be part of the 99 either. They didn't just ban him as a commander. They banned him, period, which might have been a tad bit excessive. I think he's definitely fair if played in a Yidris deck or, the 4-color deck with Vial Smasher and Kydel. They like to wheel as well, and you can take advantage of Leovold with really any wheel effect, and he would fit well in those decks while not being too overbearing. And I think the same thing could be true for just Sultai Control. But again, those are the ban lists for Commander, and it really doesn't, it's not oppressive, and it's not like Standard where they just recently banned stuff in Standard. I remember it was like Emrakul and Reflector Mage, and then Smuggler's Copter. Just frustrating Standard players. I know they want to diversify the format, but still, not a lot of safety there when financially you could lose a lot of money off of those Standard. Short-term investments are still investments, but still, it's not a safe format for new players. Not as much as Commander is, and you don't need to spend as much money to get into Commander as you do in Standard. Seriously, you can just spend $35, get a pre-con deck at your local Walmart, and just call it that. And I wish I knew that starting out, because I could have gotten the Commander 2013 pre-con deck, even if it was just a Revi. Just spend like $35 at the time. Get a Derevi deck, still worth it, because I entered the format, and I didn't empty my wallet at all. That would have been a lot better than spending hundreds of dollars on Standard, losing all that money. But anyway, I hope this advice was helpful to anyone watching this. See you again, and as always, thank you for watching.